What's up, guys? Gunn here. Happy Monday, August 17th, 2020. We have NBA basketball today. I'm excited for that. If you guys are playing NBA basketball and you haven't seen, I put up a lot of videos about today's slate. Even did a throwback night stream last night with started with Raj and Jake. Raj disconnected and Jake put in a lot of good information and thoughts. So if you guys want to check that out, Jake, by the way, won 100K a couple days ago in NBA. So maybe we listen to him for a couple of things, If you guys want to check that out, it is on the channel. The NBA FanDuel DraftKings live stream. So if you're playing NBA DFS today, you want to get a head start on that one. Check out that video. Otherwise, in this video, we're going to be focusing on the MLB main slate tonight for FanDuel and DraftKings as well. We're going to be talking about every pitcher that I have listed on the slate. And that's kind of what we key in on these videos is the pitchers and their splits and their advanced metrics and try to find potential stacks and potential pitchers to play. And then once you research the pitchers, the stacks just kind of find themselves, right? No Coors today, thankfully. No Coors North. The Buffalo Blue Jays Stadium has been insane. Maybe a Coors South in Chase Field. We'll talk about that. But otherwise, I'm going to jump into the video. If you guys want access to that RunDFS.com MLB VIP spreadsheet, I will be using it throughout the duration of this video. It is an amazing, awesome research tool that is one of the best aids, I think, in the DFS industry to researching each slate. You can get access to it with a subscription at RunDFS.com. All you got to do is go over there, RunDFS.com, click VIP passes once you make an account. And try a week pass. If you've never tried it before, try a week pass, $25, less than $5 a day. That's going to get you daily coverage to the NBA playoffs, the playoff spreadsheet, and the 24/7 premium Discord access, which looks a little something like this. And then every day before main slate locks on NBA and basketball, we'll have a pre-lock voice chat, usually cranking up around 2 hours prior to the slate lock. So I believe all that is great additions to a daily process in creating lineups, being grounded with game theory and leverage, kind of get an idea of what other players are going to do, and then also having a team keeping you up to date when pertinent news comes out. When big news hits, that everyone tag is clicked, and then you guys get a push notification on your mobile device, your desktop, whatever it is, letting you guys know that, hey, there's some big news right there, and we need to react to it. So get access to all that by going to RunDFS.com. If you have any questions about the pricing or anything about how it works, you can DM me first, twitter.com/GundeckerSports. DMs are open. I don't have to follow you. You don't have to follow me, nothing like that. And I would be glad to address any concerns you had, or if you just wanted to tweet me questions, I don't mind fielding tweets either, man. I'm a normal guy. I bleed red. Let's jump into today's slate. 11-game main slate. First game on the docket we'll talk about is the Red Sox at the Yankees. Perez taking on Jordan Montgomery, old Gumby. Perez has been on a roll as of late, turning in 3 straight solid starts in which he's given up 4 runs over 16 and a third innings. Perez has pitched just once at Yankee Stadium in his career, giving up 7 runs over 5 innings on August 12th, 2018. Jordan Montgomery taking the bump for the Yankees. He's got a 5.17 ERA, but he's 2-1. He has notched his second win of the season last time out, holding the Braves to 3 runs, 4 hits over 6 innings. He spun 5 efficient scoreless frames before permitting a 3-run blast to Marcell Ozuna. The Boston Red Sox pitching has been a historic low for that organization. Last night, they finally held the Yankees to under 8 runs. But prior to last night's 4-2 loss to the Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball, they allowed 11 runs, 10 runs, 17 runs, 9 runs, 8, 5. It has been a very, very poor pitching staff for the Boston Red Sox. So certainly a team I want to continue to pick on. I will say over the course of the last week, the Yankees team has lost 3 of its most gruesome hitters, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and yesterday DJ LeMahieu was put on the IL. With that said, this is a next man up Yankees team that is still really, really doggone dangerous in a hitter park against a hitter's pitcher in Martin Perez. Aaron Hicks, Giovanni Urshela, Gleyber Torres, Luke Voit, Gary Sanchez, and Clint Frazier all project extremely well for me. And my goodness, are the Yankees pretty cheap on FanDuel. Looks like everyone's at 3K or less outside of like a Luke Voit. So give me the Yankees here. Right now I've got them at an implied run total of 5.9. Why are they so cheap on FanDuel with a near 6 implied run total? That's insane. I will not be pitching any Martin Perez. His righty splits are really, really, really bad. 4.8 plus xFIP to righties over the course of the last 3 years. The home runs and the average is down so far this season. Looks like there's some room for regression, a little bit of luck there. A 27.7% line drive rate. If you're going to dare some of these hitters to make contact with a baseball, I'm going to take some of those hitters. Is Jordan Montgomery playable? Probably not for me. A 10.6% swing and strike rate, the Sierra, xFIP, all that's a little bit untrustworthy for me. There are some bats I would take a chip in a chair against Jordan Montgomery. I think Kevin Pillar kind of highlights the list. He had a homer off of J. Happ, I believe, last night. And then guys like JD Martinez, a perennial lefty masher. He hasn't quite been the JD Martinez that we know and love this year, but he still has it in him. Xander Bogaerts. There's plenty of Red Sox bats that I would gamble on against a righty, and Jordan Montgomery so far has struggled with keeping the ball in the park against righties in just 15 innings of sample size. So I probably would not play Montgomery here. Love stacking the Yankees, and I could probably walk away with 4 Red Sox and not feel the worst, right? Even Verdugo against a lefty, I don't mind taking a gamble on that. But JD, Xander, Christian Vasquez is a cheap catcher on FanDuel. No one's going to play him over there. 4,500 is a little hard to love, right? But yeah, there's definitely merit in these Red Sox bats for me. Let's move on to the next game. Braves hosting the Nationals. Anibal Sanchez against Tukey Toussaint. Anibal Sanchez, did you guys watch that game yesterday? The Orioles and the Nationals. Max Scherzer on the bump. Anibal Sanchez got ejected from the stands, which is making him the second pitcher for the Nationals to get ejected from the stands this week. Steven Strasburg was given the old heave-ho the other night, so I don't know what's going on with the Nats pitchers in the stands there, all wearing masks but still getting thrown out. But today, Sanchez taking a bump. He's got a 9.69 ERA. He's looking for his first win of the season after allowing 14 earned runs in his previous 3 starts. He's 8-11 with a 4.64 ERA over 23 career starts against the Braves. He'll be up against Tukey Toussaint. Toussaint is 0-1 with a 7.27 ERA. He's going to try to bounce back after allowing the Yankees to produce a pair of 3-run frames with the first 3 innings of Tuesday's start. In his last home start on August 6th, he recorded a career-high 9 strikeouts against the Toronto Blue Jays. Yesterday, I had 37% of Elijah Hernandez on DraftKings, and it worked out. This Braves lineup is a lot weaker on the surface than it was to start the season. Ronald Acuna's on the IL, no Ozzie Albies. So if you look at this lineup, especially against righties, there's 2 guys in this lineup batting around 300 over the course of the last 2 years against righties: Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, and only Freddie Freeman has an over 500 slugging percentage against righties. Is Anibal Sanchez in play? I think crazier things have been done. I think if you could play Elijah Hernandez against this team, I don't think you're crazy to take a couple gambles on Anibal Sanchez at 7,200 on DraftKings. Could he eat 5-6 innings, maybe get you a strikeout per inning? Maybe he didn't even have to get a strikeout per inning, but could he get you a win, 5 strikeouts, 5-6 innings, give up less than 2 or 3 earned runs? I think it's very possible. Obviously, you're not going to have a whole lot of confidence, but the teams that he's faced his last 3 starts, the Mets, got beat up by the Mets, a bunch of lefties there, a good hitting team, those lefties specifically. Baltimore is one of the best teams in the league right now, just straight up. Their WRC plus is stupid. And then Toronto Blue Jays, he had 7 strikeouts, 13 fantasy points. Maybe the floor is not where we want it, but I could certainly see taking some flyers against the Braves team in the coming week if they're going to continue to be this weak, especially against righties. Not a comfort play, right? But I'm just saying, if I'm devising a range of outcomes, I don't think Anibal Sanchez is out of play for me. The Nationals, I've been stacking the Nationals, and I've been okay with the results thus far. The Nationals are actually 1-run underdogs right now. Nationals have a 4.6 implied run total. The Braves at 5.5. I feel like that's I feel like that's got some room for switching. Trey Turner, Adam Eaton, Juan Soto's been on fire. Eaton, I think, had the day off yesterday. Asdrubal Cabrera's had some massive games lately. This is still a Nats team that I think has a lot of positive fantasy value. And Tukey Toussaint, I guess his xFIP and Sierra are much, much lower than his ERA. And I guess maybe Vegas is projecting regression. I think that's fair. But I still think this is a team that I'm going to have several shares of, especially on FanDuel. 3,300 for Trey Turner. I'd take that. I'll take that. He's got a little bit of pop, but we know he can steal some bases when he gets on. And then Juan Soto has been on fire. He's not as cheap as Trey Turner, but Trey Turner just feels like he's awfully, awfully underpriced for his floor and his skill set, right? And the Braves, for me, it's just Freddie Freeman on the surface. But Sanchez has struggled mightily this season against righties. A 364 average to righties, a 386 home run per nine. The lefty splits have not been much more positive. The xFIP's high against both sides, so maybe that's what Vegas is seeing as well. So if you wanted to dabble with Dansby Swanson, he's been off to a great start this season. I can handcuff him to a Freeman. There is some power there with Ozuna. Past Ozuna, it gets a little bit fishier. Maybe a Duvall or d'Arnaud. We have seen d'Arnaud projected to be high in the order earlier this week. So if d'Arnaud goes from 7 to like second or top 5, he'd probably be a pretty lucrative catcher to roster, especially on DraftKings at 2,500. So there is, I guess there is merit in some of these Braves bats as well. But low game total. Let's move on to the next game here. Mets at the Marlins. Jordan Yamamoto up against Robert Gsellman. Gsellman, often out of the bullpen, is going to draw the start. They began stretching Gsellman out as a starter last week on Wednesday when he threw 33 pitches against the Nationals. He should be good for about 45 to 55 pitches in his second start here against Miami. That means we're not playing him. 4,500 is still awfully cheap, though. I will say that. That's almost a bat price. Could you get double-digit fantasy points out of him? Maybe. But you cap your ceiling, you cap your upside, knowing that he can't go much deeper than that. So what we take away from that is that this is a Mets bullpen game, essentially. And do we pick on the Mets bullpen? I think you could, right? The Marlins never make you feel warm and fuzzy. But the Mets bullpen makes you feel worse, right? Jordan Yamamoto, he's got a 9.82 ERA on the season, 9 strikeouts. Keeping the ball in the park has been an issue for him, who has surrendered 4 homers in 7 1/3 innings this season. Last year at Marlins Park, he gave up just 5 homers in 39 innings. I say just 5. He gave up 5 homers in 39 innings. Still a high ratio. Usually about 1 homer per 10 innings is kind of the benchmark, right? The good versus bad flip-flop. So if you're above 1 per 10, then we got problems. Yamamoto, 6.6K. There's not a whole lot of underlying metrics that make me feel warm and fuzzy about him. An 8.5% swinging strike rate, high Sierra, high xFIP. I don't really see any redeeming qualities to roster him. Implied run total for the Mets, right about 5 runs right now. Marlins, 4.2. I don't know if I'm leaning on a full stack on either team, but certainly players in both organizations that merit rostering, or at least merit putting in my player pool. I talked about Jonathan VR yesterday. VR is just one of those super aggressive guys. If he gets on, he's going to run. He has, in his last, 10 games here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 6 stolen bases already on the season. He's showing a little bit of power against contact pitchers. Can stretch a single into a double. He's got a lot of speed. And outside of yesterday, he's giving you double-digit fantasy points in 3 games straight. So I definitely don't mind going back to the well on him. Gsellman against lefties. This season, a 600 average and a 13.5 home run per 9. xFIP's at 3, so I'm not expecting that to sustain. But like I said, that Mets bullpen is that Mets bullpen. All bets are off. Jesus Aguilar's in the mix as well. Even Matt Joyce, Brian Anderson. Again, these are all one-offs. I couldn't really see myself gluing them all together into full stacks in my scripting, but they all make sense in a vacuum. And on the Mets side, against Yamamoto, super high average, high xFIP last year against lefties, high average this year against righties, high average this year against lefties. However, the xFIP is a lot lower, but he has had big-time problems with power to lefties over the course of the last 2 seasons. A 47% hard contact rate last year against lefties, with almost a 1.5 homer per 9 and 11.6% walk percentage. That creates a potential for a big inning. So Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto, Dominic Smith has been one of their best hitters. Definitely a team that puts together some rosterable bats. Again, am I going to full stack the Mets in a pitcher-friendly Marlins Park? Maybe we'll circle back, but on a double-digit slate game, or double-digit game slate, I probably don't. But I definitely wouldn't push back at you if you had 4 Mets in your lineups and they were all the high-profile lefties. But I will certainly have them all in my player pool. And then keep an eye on Luis Guillorme. You might remember him as the position player who pitched the other night. He came through for me yesterday with bases loaded. He's dual position eligible. He's 2,500. He's really cheap on both sites. It's been sprinkling a couple fantasy points here and there. I was happy with playing him yesterday. I might go back to the well if I'm pinching pennies in a lineup that needs a little bit of salary savings from a dual position guy. So just kind of a gem I've been putting in my back pocket. Blue Jays at the Orioles. Hunyin Ryu up against Alex Cobb, our pitching matchup here. If you guys click any of the Blue Jay players' names, their game logs are going to look intense. That stadium in Buffalo has been Coors Field to the max. It's been crazy. Not that Camden Yard plays much more pitcher friendly, but at least we know it's a major league stadium, and it might suppress a little bit of the offense. The Blue Jays lost potentially their best player yesterday, Bo Bichette, and what sounds like could be a season-ending injury. I heard reports that maybe he comes back in September, but nonetheless, that's a big time loss for the Blue Jays in Bo Bichette. But they still got guys like Kevin Biggio, Teoscar Hernandez, Vladdy Jr., Travis Shaw, but none of these guys have been hitting for a high average. And like I said, they've all been hitting for great power the last couple games in that series in Buffalo. But I do kind of expect that to neutralize once they start playing in major league parks again. So I'm not going to run to chase those Blue Jays points. I am kind of curious to see how the field is reacting to the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays haven't been on a lot of main slates at all last week during that homestand in Buffalo. They were on the FanDuel main slate yesterday, but it was a 7-inning game. So I'm curious to see if people think the Blue Jays are just on fire and super talented. And I'm not saying they're not super talented, but that park was helping them out. Alex Cobb versus Ryu is our matchup. Ryu, it looks like he's officially found his groove with the Blue Jays after a pair of uncharacteristic starts to open the season. Ryu has allowed just 1 run over 11 innings in his last 2 starts with 15 strikeouts. That's what you want to see. Ryu has been one of the highest K guys in the league, a 13.4% swing and strike rate this season. The Orioles are a team that we keep picking on, and they just keep being scrappy. I mentioned it earlier. I'll pull up FanGraphs just to kind of display it. One of the benchmarks for judging a team's talent or even a player's talent is by looking at WRC plus, weighted runs created. If we go look at team batting stats 2020 and sort WRC plus from greatest to least, the Orioles are 4th in WRC plus. Surprisingly, the Mets are 2nd. So maybe I should reconsider that Mets stack. Sure, as we get 40 more games played, maybe that neutralizes a little bit. But what they've been doing is there. 276 BABIP, right? It's not like they're getting insanely lucky. A 200 ISO, maybe no one projected that. But the metrics aren't there's no astonishing numbers here that feel unsustainable from just if you isolate the Orioles 303 BABIP, not 276. If you isolate the metrics alone, right? So if you look at a team that had a 400 BABIP or a team that had a 200 BABIP, something like that, yeah, you might project a progression or regression, but the Orioles are getting it done right now. So I don't really have the warm and fuzzies to pitch against them. And on top of that, if we go to this splits tab so far this season and chop it in half and put all the major league teams against lefties, and we go from team average to highest from lowest, the Orioles have the 3rd highest team batting average against left-handed pitching behind the Tigers and the Royals. So there's that. 9 homers in those games as well. We know Hanser Alberto has been probably the best hit for average player against left-handed pitching over the course of the last 2 years. So we saw Patrick Corbin struggle the other night. this is a scrappy Orioles team, so I think maybe we should start giving them a little bit of respect and not picking on them. And I think the field is not picking up on that just yet. And I can certainly see a lot of people getting behind Hyun-Jin Ryu as an option. And I don't think, like, metrically he's particularly a bad option. You know, a 202 Sierra, a high swing and strike rate. Definitely a guy that can go out there and get it done for you. He's 9,400. Could I get 25 fantasy points out of him? I don't think that's crazy. But I think we have to start realizing, hey, this Orioles team might be a problem. Yesterday, Santander went yard on Scherzer twice. Pedro Severino went yard twice. Like I said, Alberto is one of the best lefty hitters in the game. So it's not some pushover lineup right now. And they're only striking out 18.9% this season against lefties. Not a whole lot of sample size. We're waiting for more at bats. They only have 143 plate appearances against lefties. So there's certainly, you know, some potential anomalies based on short sample size. But this is a team that I'm starting to get tired of picking on because it's just hardly paying off. Max Scherzer got strikeouts yesterday, but he also gave up runs to where he was just an average 10K player, right? No Alex Cobb for me. Do we stack Blue Jays against Alex Cobb? The Blue Jays coming into this game with an implied run total of 4.9. The Orioles 4.2. So kind of a modest run total considering it's a Camden Yards game. I think I start one-off in guys like Kevin Biggio, maybe Randall Grichuk, Travis Shaw. Maybe I could have some Teoscar Hernandez exposure. I'd have to get back to you on whether or not I full stack the Blue Jays. I guess you could ride the hot hands in a still hitter-friendly park. But prior to that trip to that park, the Blue Jays were not looking good on that road stand. So I feel like the real Blue Jays team is somewhere in the middle. And without Bo Bichette, they might be a little lower than that middle, right? Could we stack the Orioles? Is it time to start full stacking Orioles? I'll tell you what, you give me a lineup with Alberto, Santander, Jose Iglesias, Pedro Severino, maybe Renato Nunez. I mean, there are 471 slugging. There are some chips and chairs in here that I don't think is crazy, but I don't think Hyun-Jin Ryu's like a bad pitcher, right? I think he can limit the damage, but I could also think there's enough road bumps in this game to where they give him enough problems to where he's not going to win a tournament. Maybe, I don't know. If I come back to it, I probably will have some Ryu exposure, not to be that guy. But I'll tell you why when we get to that Chase Field game, right? Let's move on to the next game. White Sox hosting the Tigers. Matt Boyd taking on Gio Gonzalez. It's a battle of two southpaws. Matt Boyd 0-2 with a 10.24 ERA. He's going to get a rematch against a White Sox lineup that hit him for 7 runs over 4 2/3 innings, punctuated by a 4-run fifth on Wednesday at Comerica Park. Boyd said after the game he needs to shake out some of the bad habits mechanically. He'll be up against Gio Gonzalez, a 6.61 ERA. Gonzalez came within 1 out of recording his first career White Sox victory on Tuesday in Detroit, but he exited after 4 2/3 innings. He has allowed 26 hits, 8 walks over 16 1/3 innings this season. Not what you want. Both pitchers are probably not going to be in my player pool. I will continue to say that Matt Boyd, one of these days, will be a great tournament play. Because of his swing and strike potential. Last year, a 14.1% swing and strike rate was top 8, I believe, in baseball. So there's going to be a game where he kind of puts it together and gets it done. But this is a White Sox team featuring bats I like against lefties. Tim Anderson, the cover boy. Love him in this spot leading off. Yohan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal, Jose Abreu, E5. Even Luis Robert, I don't mind. I don't mind this full stack for the White Sox, even without a couple of their guys. They lost Lurie Garcia to the IL. Yesterday, the White Sox hit 4 consecutive home runs. That'll make you feel good in a clubhouse. So I'll go back to the White Sox stack here. They have an implied run total of 5.2, and I don't think the Tigers are off the board. We just kind of pulled up the teams against lefties stats. The Tigers are batting .302 as a team against lefties. Maybe a lot of that has to do with C.J. Cron. I can double check that. But 9 bombs. Maybe we put WRC plus in the mix against lefties. See where they're at in that regard. Tigers are second in WRC plus against lefties. Orioles are first. I mean, these are some weird names down here. White Sox are fourth. I think a game stack here is something I'm privy to. against Gio Gonzalez. Gonzalez, a 5.39 xFIP this year, 4.45 last year. High Sierra, the home run per nine to righties at a 2.31. The average is a little high, but the xFIP doesn't even back him up on the average, right? I don't think you're going to sustain a 360 average allowed, but usually when you have a high average, your xFIP is at least 4.5, 4. His xFIP's over 5 to both sides of the plate. So this is a great spot to maybe get some Tigers at reduced prices on FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel specifically, Willie Castro, if he's in the mix in the 2 spot, 2,300, I'll take that. Nico Goodrum, a switch hitter. Miggy, 2,600. You don't have to choose between Miguel Cabrera or CJ Cron in this spot, right? At the first base spot on DraftKings, you just go Miggy, Jonathan Scope. So, I mean, like there's plenty of clickable names here. The only thing I wish so far is there's some cheap bats that we've discussed, and we haven't really had that pay up for a pitcher yet that would kind of pay off this cheap stack. And I don't think we're gonna get it. I think Ross Stripling will end up being my favorite pitcher, but we'll discuss that. So no pitchers here for me. Both teams are certainly in play for me. Let's get on to the next game. Twins hosting the Royals. Chris Bubic up against Matt Wisler. Probably don't end up on either of these pitchers. Bubic has a 5.4 ERA, 15 strikeouts though. He's going to make his 4th big league start in the series finale against the Twins. On Tuesday against the Reds, he allowed 7 hits, 5 runs over 5 innings, but he retired the last 7 batters he faced. Matt Wisler, 0-1 with a 1.8 ERA. He's going to make his first quote-unquote start of the season. As the opening pitcher in a likely bullpen game against the Royals. He opened 8 times for the Mariners last year, and he's thrown up to 39 pitches in an outing so far this season. So another bullpen game where we just probably ignore Whistler as a potential play. Could we play any of the Royals bats here? Whit Merrifield, Soler, maybe. Salvador Perez got scratched yesterday. Is he hurt? Does he get removed from this lineup, get put on the IL? If he's not in the lineup, it becomes a much more watered-down lineup. Hunter Dozier homered yesterday. It's not a lineup that I'm excited to play, especially if it doesn't have Salvador Perez, but it doesn't look like the Twins are going to offer us a logistical play for fantasy in terms of pitching. So I'll probably stay away from the Royals stack, but Merrifield and Soler will always be one-off potential. And depending on what happens to Salvador Perez, if he's, that was just an afternoon scratch, give him another day of rest, sure. But if he was scratched, they initially planned for him to play, and he didn't. Maybe he's hurt. On the Twins side, against Bubic, Bubic is a lefty with a little bit of strikeout potential. He had higher strikeout rates in the minors, but I think he was one of those guys that skipped AAA. I think he might have been a single A or a double A pitcher that skipped AAA. And just got thrown into the fire, and that's dangerous. So far in the majors, he's had extreme reverse splits. Will that sustain? I'm not really overly concerned. I think this is a talented Twins lineup against either side of the plate. Against lefties, we love Nelson Cruz, but if he's going to sustain some reverse splits, hey, Eddie Rosario, Max Kepler, welcome to the lineup. Marwin Gonzalez is a good switch hitter. I don't mind playing in this role as either. The Twins are always going to be one of my favorite stacks, especially when they're at home. So certainly sign me up for a lot of these Twins bats. The Twins have an implied run total of 5.7, and they're a minus 202 favorite. So maybe if we got word on who a long man might be for the Twins, maybe you take some tournament shots on that and like a turbo or something. But they're a sizable home favorite, and they're projected to put up some runs. Royals bullpen doesn't spook me at all. Let's move on to the next game here. Rangers hosting the Padres. Zach Davies on the bump. He'll be up against Jordan Lyles. Zach Davies has a 2-2 win-loss record, 2.78 ERA. In a sport with an ever-rising fastball velocity, Davies gets by with a high 80s two-seamer at the knees and a changeup that darts below them. His command of both pitches have been excellent this season, and his changeup usage is up significantly. So it sounds like we have a Kyle Hendricks in the making. Jordan Lyles 1-1 with a 6.06 ERA. He made 2 starts against the Padres last season, one with the Pirates and the other with the Brewers. He was 1-0 with a 1.54 ERA and a 1.03 WHIP. The righty allowed 4 runs in 5 innings in his last start against the Mariners. So Jordan Lyles has a 7.43 xFIP to righties this season, 6.95 to lefties. He had an elevated xFIP to lefties last year as well with a 2.13 home run per 9. So Trent Grisham, Eric Hosmer, kind of float to the top of my interest list. Even Jake Cronenworth enters the conversation. Fernando Tatis is matchup proof. I'll play him every day leading off on the road. And, of course, Machado. So do the Padres come in the mix for me? Sure. Maybe we keep an eye on the Rangers' roof status. Sometimes they open a roof, sometimes they don't. Didn't expect them to be guys to open a roof this year, but they have opened the roof in a game or two, so maybe they go back to the mix and open it again. Are the Rangers going to wake up and not Coors Field? Heck, in Coors Field, they were barely awake. This is Zach Davies, right? Against lefties, a 13.2% K rate, high line drive rate allowed, a 1.39 home run per nine. Joey Gallo is a man that can hit a baseball a mile away if you put it on a tee. His bugaboo is this 35.1% strikeout percentage. If you're going to put Joey Gallo against a contact fly ball pitcher, I'm going to take shots. So at 3,500 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DraftKings, Joey Gallo's absolutely in my player pool against Zach Davies. And even guys like Shin-Soo Choo, who stole a base yesterday and has homered over the weekend, are in the mix. Willie Calhoun, I don't mind looking at him. Do I get to a full Ranger stack? Probably not. The Rangers have one of the lowest implied totals on the entire slate, just 4.1 runs. But there are some bats in a vacuum that I can get behind. Joey Gallo, of course, leading the pack there. And then the Padres only have 4.5 implied run totals themselves. So these low totals, and if the roof is closed, it makes it a pitcher, leans more towards a pitcher's park. If you had bigger cajones than I did, maybe you gamble on either of these pitchers. I don't mind it. John Gray was a serviceable fantasy play yesterday, but I don't know if I'm going to land there just yet. I think I'm going to one-off bats here and try not to get behind these pitchers. Let's move on. Speaking of Coors, the Rockies leaving Coors, finally going to Houston, Texas, where they'll be up against Brandon Bilek, and they'll be throwing Kyle Freeland, lefty. I feel like the Astros have faced a lefty every day this weekend. Kyle Freeland, 2-0 with a 2.45 ERA. Going into the weekend, Freeland, who has never pitched at Minute Maid Park, had a 58.7% ground ball rate that ranked fourth amongst all NL starters. If he pitches that way, the short left field porch could be less of a factor down there in Minute Maid, so the Crawford boxes maybe get neutralized. Bilek, 2-0 with a 1.76 ERA after picking up a pair of wins in relief in his first two big league outings. He has started 2 games and pitched 5 innings each time, including 5 scoreless innings on August 6th at Arizona. So you're going to probably hear a lot of this today. The Rockies are not as devastating on the road outside of Coors Field as they are at home at Coors Field, rightfully so, but they still have some talented bats. The one thing about the Rockies that is really annoying that DraftKings didn't do is they didn't take the Coors pricing out of the Rockies, right? I know Charlie Blackmon is batting 500 for crying out loud, but 5,800 for Blackmon here on the road, 53 for Story, 54 for Arenado. Can we get some type of reprieve for the Rockies on the road to even consider it, right? Bilek has just a 10.7% K rate to righties this season, 4.8 xFIP, a 270 average, high line drive rate. His average to lefties has been low, but his xFIP is high, his walk rate's high, so it's suggesting that he could get in some trouble. I don't think I'm going to get to Bilek here because the Rockies do have a low K rate, and they've been hitting the ball okay in the last week or so, and they're going to be pretty lefty heavy. So I think this is a pass for me on Bilek, even though I did play him in that start against, I think, the Mariners. Freeland, 6,900. His strikeout numbers to righties are really, really low. A 15.1% carry to righties last year and 11.8% so far this year. 5.38 xFIP last year to righties, 4.37 this year. Hard contact through the roof, 43% last year, 45% this year. So you mix that with some guys like George Springer, Alex Bregman. I'm an investor, even Yuli Gurriel. Jose Altuve, you figure he's gonna come out of it eventually. He specifically requested to be put down in the bottom of the order. Dusty Baker allowed it. Maybe you gamble on him, but I don't think you're getting a discount on him on DraftKings at 51. So I do like an Astro stack. I think their implied run total is going to be one of the higher on the slates, 5.4. So absolutely they're in play. Rockies just a 4.2 implied run total, but I really don't have the warm and fuzzies on throwing Bilek here. Is it Bilek? I don't know. And the Rockies prices, I feel like I'm priced out of stacking the Rockies, right? 5.8, 5.4, 5.3. I mean, the Yankees have an implied run total of almost 6, and they're all in the 4Ks. So I don't know, man. I wish the pricing was a little bit different on DK for the Rockies here. We got 3 games left to chop up. Let's go to Chase Field. Diamondbacks and the Athletics. The pitching matchup here is Chris Bassett taking on Zach Gallen. Chris Bassett on the season, 2-0 with a 2.42 ERA. He's off to a strong start, holding opponents to a 198 batting average through his first 4 starts. The righty is on a career-high 5-game winning streak that dates back to August 11th, 2019. Zach Gallen pitching for the D-backs, 2.74 ERA. He's been one of the D-backs' most consistent starters this year. Last time out against the Rockies at Coors Field, Gallen allowed just 2 runs and did not walk a batter over 7 innings. Both runs came on a Nolan Arenado home run. So let's just say on paper, right? On paper, nothing else but paper. Zach Gallen looks like he should be an extremely high-ceiling pitcher today. There have been pitchers we have thrown in the last week or two, Dylan Bundy, Kevin Gossman, extreme righty splits pitchers with high K rates to righties that have gone off. Zach Gallen is that pitcher right now. 32% K rate against righties, an under 4 xFIP. The home run per nine's up there, sure, but this will be a somewhat righty-dominant Athletics lineup. The projected lineup right here features Tony Kemp, who I'm not overly concerned about, but he is a low K guy. Matt Olson would be the big problem, and Robbie Grossman. Other than that, I mean, this is probably going to be 6 to 7 righties. I mean, that's a great spot for Gallen, because Gallen can strike out lefties too, and even his xFIP is lower to lefties. So everything's saying Zach Gallen's in a great spot to have a big game at 8,800 on DraftKings, 9,700 on FanDuel. So just knowing that, would you play him? Yes, I think I would too. I will say what I'm about to bring up is the roof information for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks project to have the roof open tonight, August 17th against the A's roof open. They had the roof open the other night, Merrill Kelly versus Dinelson Lamet, and it didn't pop off. But you know Chase Field plays a whole lot different with the roof open versus the roof closed, and we saw that in the game the other day with Lance McCullers. The Phoenix, Arizona temperatures are nuts, and it'll be at times 116 degrees. They have an excessive heat warning. When it comes to 7 p.m. local time, it'll be well over 100 degrees. It'll create a great hitting environment. So if you wanted to stack the stadium, it's an opportunity to do that should they continue to commit to having the roof open. Hopefully on Twitter they'll update us and let us know if they change that. But they seem pretty transparent when it comes to opening the roof. They've announced, like the other day, they opened the roof in the middle of the game after their starter was done. It feels kind of cheesy. I guess you could say that's when it's cool enough to open the roof and you look at the sky or whatever. But they project to have the roof open all day today. So if that happens, what I do like is for Chris Bassett to regress. So far against righties, a 196 average allowed with a 5.06 xFIP. He's a contact pitcher. These righties like Christian Walker, who have a high K rate, get into one. And even against lefties, he has a 4.01 xFIP. The hard contact is below average, but the fly ball rate is up. So if he allows a 52% fly ball rate to guys like Cole Calhoun, David Peralta with the high temperatures, I think it could create a recipe for D-backs to put up some runs. Right now, a really low game total. 4.6 for the Athletics, 4.5 for the D-backs. A 9 OU. We saw this the other night with the Padres and D-backs, and I was all over the over. And it ended up disappointing. I actually won a tournament that night with Merrill Kelly, as much as I thought that the stadium could pop off. So just understand both ranges of outcomes there. I think Zach Gallen, 8,800 on DraftKings, just playing the matchup, playing the metrics. I'm going to be a buyer because the strikeout potential is through the roof. He could walk away with double-digit strikeouts. But if I'm running 100, 150 lineups, I'm probably going to have a couple hedge stacks and stadium stacks behind that just to kind of be that guy, right? Let's keep the games moving. We got 2 left. We're almost done. Dodgers hosting the Mariners. Justin Dunn. We're almost done. Up against Ross Stripling, Justin Dunn, 1-1 with a 4.85 ERA. He's the Mariners' number 8 prospect. He's going to look to build on his first career victory, in which he held the Rangers to 2 runs in 6 innings last Monday. He has never pitched more than 4 innings in his previous 6 MLB starts. He'll be up against Ross Stripling. A pair of errors, one by Stripling, torpedoed his last start to the tune of 4 unearned runs. That said, Stripling wasn't his usual sharp self, and he allowed a pair of home runs, including Manny Machado's grand slam that turned the game around. So Ross Stripling, still a guy I can get behind in this matchup. The Mariners team as a whole in the last week, striking out 1-4, no power, low average. I think guys like Dylan Moore, Kyle Lewis are talented in and of themselves, more so Kyle Lewis. But Ross Stripling under 8K in this situation, I'm going to get behind. I know he only has a 13% K rate to righties this season. I expect that to improve. He had a 25% the last 2 years. There's really no real reason to suggest that he wouldn't go back to that eventually. Swinging strike rate under 8%. We're expecting that to progress. With that said, he's been striking out lefties at a really good clip with a 152 average allowed, and this Mariners lineup is going to be pretty lefty heavy as well. J.P. Crawford, Kyle Seager, Daniel Vogelbach, Cedric Long, and Malik Smith. So I think at 8K on both sides, Ross Stripling's right there at that comfort zone where I feel like the risk reward, the floor ceiling is enough for me to be an investor. 9.7, 18, 9.8, 29, wide range of outcomes. But like we say, kind of got in trouble that last game. And then when you start allowing unearned runs, and you're down 4 runs on another of them earned, you start losing your confidence. I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. Has 30 point potential, but I just need 20 to feel like he was a great tournament play. No Justin Dunn for me. Dodgers are all about. I'm all about stacking them. The Dodgers have the highest run total so far as of now at 6.1. They're a minus 285 favorite, so more FanDuel girth behind playing Stripling there. Good shot he gets a win. If he goes 6, maybe we get that quality start. But Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner. I mean, every Dodgers in play today, when that lineup comes out, they'll be one of my favorite stacks. No questions asked, right? Dodgers stack, yes. Stripling, yes. Justin Dunn, no. 1 game left on the docket. Before we do that, take a pause for the cause. Remind you guys, 2 hours before lock for baseball, I'll be in the RunDFS.com MLB VIP voice chat. You guys are welcome to jump in there, listen in, or grab a mic, make some new friends. I love talking DFS with new people and making new DFS friends. We'll also be in there all day grinding NBA. So if that's you, you're a dual sport guy like everyone else I know is, you're more than welcome to go be part of that pre-log voice chat. We have spreadsheets for NBA as well, and I'll also have my personal player pool for both sports. You guys can compare yours to mine. I'll show you yours. Wait, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. That just got weird. If you guys want in on that, RunDFS.com. Make yourself an account. Get signed up. $25 for the week. Less than $5 a day. Daily voice chats, 24/7 text chat, and daily access to the spreadsheets and player pools. It goes down for real. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I sweat a lot. And when I record these videos or when I live stream, for you guys, I turn the air conditioner off. I turn the fan off. Sometimes I have it on. You guys can hear it, and I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot to turn it off. So when I turn it off, it's about 95 degrees in this room right now, maybe a little bit more. And I think it's raining, so it's a little humid. So I'm sweating. I'm literally putting in sweat for you guys. All I ask for you is to put in a thumbs up for me. You feel like that's a fair trade? I feel like it's a fair trade. So if you appreciate some of these videos, give me that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, man, that would really make the sweat worth it. Hit that red subscribe button and ring the notifications bell if you want to be notified via push notifications next time content's posted. NBA stuff, NBA baseball stuff, and then football right around the corner. I'm extra sweaty because I've been sitting in this hot room extra long because I just did an NBA live stream. So give me some credit. My bad if I'm looking really, really, really rough. But 1 game left to chop up, and then we're out of here, and we are on to making that money for Monday. Giants at the Angels. We've got a pitching matchup between Tyler Anderson and Griffin Canning. Tyler Anderson 0-1 with a 3.63 ERA. He gave up 4 runs over 5 innings in his last start on Tuesday. Against the Astros, he made his only career start against the Angels in 2018 when he gave up 4 runs over 5 innings. Griffin Canning taking the bump for the Angels, 0-3 with a 4.42 ERA. He has struggled his last 2 starts with 5 earned runs allowed over 7 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 runs over 4 innings against the A's last time out. So Giants project porous power-wise against righties, and the Angels, for what it's worth, project poor average and power-wise against lefties. Mike Trout's Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon's heating up, but this is a lineup that maybe doesn't get to lefties like you might expect them to, and we've even seen Justin Upton not make the everyday lineup over the weekend. I don't know if he's hurt. But yeah, I mean, this is a lineup. You look at this lineup, only Fletcher, Trout, Rendon have batting averages over 270 against lefties over the course of the last 2 years. So this is a lineup that maybe you get crazy with it on DraftKings, 6,200, and hope Tyler Anderson eats innings and gets you 10-plus fantasy points. Not an insane range of outcome. Swing and strike rates below 10%. Not what you want. Sierra is 27. That's insane. I feel like that's too insane. I feel like that can't be right. Let me double check that. Pace formula. Is it really 27? Like, is that a thing? Give me a second. Holy cow, it's so hot. Advanced control Sierra. Yeah, it's only at 6.65, so I got to figure out why it's showing 27. There's a source code problem there. Griffin Canning's 8,200, high Sierra, high X for both sides of the plate. He does have a little bit of strikeout potential, but it's a medium strikeout team. This projected lineup for the Giants all have strikeout rates over 20%, so maybe Canning isn't like a crazy shot in the dark at 8,200. I need a range of outcomes, probably from 16 to 26, to feel like he's a positive play. It is still a pitcher's park in Anaheim. Would be better if it was in Oracle or it's Oracle, not AT&T. Both pitchers, I think you can make a case for in tournaments, but there's going to be plenty of one-offs that I can get behind. Obviously, Mike Trout, David Fletcher, Anthony Rendon lead the pack for the Angels for me. Shohei Ohtani's right behind it. And Max Stassi, if he cracks the lineup against a lefty, I'm behind that for sure. He's shown some power this year against lefties, and he's probably a cheap option. He's 3.3K as a catcher on DraftKings. If Max Stassi's a catcher for the Angels, I could be an investor in that. And on the Giants side, Mike Yastrzemski leads the pack for me, 3,600 on FanDuel. I feel like that's a good opportunity cost leading off there. We've seen some power over the course of last week from like Longoria. No one I want to run to play. Solano's batting almost 370 against lefties, against righties in the last in his career. There's a couple plays, one-offs, but I can't really see myself co-signing on a full stack of either team, right? Just a game that happens. So you can give me some shot as a late night hammer. That game's at 9:40. Dodgers game's at 9:40. D-backs game's at 9:40. So maybe you find a late slate there. 3-game late slate with those games all happening at the same time. That seems like it'd be fun to sweat. That is your look at today's main slate for FanDuel and DraftKings. If you guys have plays or picks that I didn't mention or you want to share with the class, man, leave a comment below. Tell me what you're thinking here. Who are your favorite pitchers? Are you as giddy or hesitant to play Zach Gallen? Do you trust Ross Stripling to bounce back? There's so many points of discussion for this slate. So share it down low, man. Open up discussion in the comments section. Like I said, I've been grinding, right? Give it to me. We've been grinding these videos out. So if you appreciate the grind, help me out. Shake the YouTube algorithm up, man. Leave comments. Hit those thumbs up. If you're on Twitter, share the videos. I surely would appreciate it. And I would probably say when we start pumping out NFL content, maybe even next week, we'll start doing weekly PayPal giveaways. I feel like that's a good way to generate rewards for the viewers and comments and whatnot. I did that last year too, so maybe look out for that. Maybe some like monetary PayPal giveaways, 10, 20, 30 bucks a week, something like that, right? I appreciate you guys hanging out for the duration of this video. If you guys got anything else for me, twitter.com/GundackerSports. That's the way to reach out to me. I will see you guys all day long in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. I hope you win all of the money that I don't win. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.